Now, how would an American empire control resources? When it was the British Empire, the majority of the resources were coming from Africa and from South America. But now that oil comes into as a factor, then the resources in that area have to be controlled too. So all the same tricks that have been happening in Africa for the last 500 years is being inflicted on the Middle East because the resources need to be controlled. So there's nothing out of character from the American empire to wanting to destroy, especially Iran. Because if you think about it, America dominates just like England dominated because they have the strongest navy and most of trade happens as maritime trade. So because they control all the checkpoints, they control all the trade. Now, just how the British Empire objected to internal land development, they were not fans of the Berlin to Baghdad rail ideas that America was supporting. So that was one of the things that Germany was doing, Russia was doing, France was doing, right? So it's natural for an empire to want to destroy the competition. So if you have China right now trying to build the Belt and Road, and if the Belt and Road has to go through that whole Southwest Asian area, and it has to go through Iran, then and the Middle East, then whoever that hegemon is that wants to keep the trade on the water is going to be fighting any rail that's going to bypass the maritime routes. So it would be obvious that the American imperial interest would be against the BRIC nations and their Belt and Road, because that would also be cutting them out of their resources, which is in Africa, right? Because the rail line, the idea of the rail line is for it to go all the way into Africa. So it should be pretty obvious that you're not going to want to have a government in any of those areas, anywhere in the Middle East or Southwest Asia as it's called, or the Levant, that is not loyal to the empire. So if you look at it right now, and we were thinking about foreign aid, so who's getting foreign aid? Who's getting money in that area? It's all those ones that are loyal. The Gulf state countries, Israel, Jordan, Egypt. These are all the ones that receive their money and they go along. The ones who were the pariahs, like Syria and Iran and Iraq later with Saddam, were antagonists. They weren't going to go along to get along. So it's not necessary for Israel to convince the American empire that that's part of their interest. It might be against the interest of the people, but that's a different argument. Now, if the American empire wanted to control the mind of the subjects of its empire, and a main part of its strength is that it can control the Middle East by filling it with the same way that the Venetian Empire had Norman kings, right? The loyal governors. Why would it be strange that the American Empire and the British Empire would fight against any undermining of their project? Taking Palestinians and Israelis out of the conversation. If the empires are now trying to get everybody to their side, and there's really only one nation and a bunch of radicals, terrorists, that are against them, and if they're vulnerable in the image of society, international society, isn't it obvious that they would fight that? Doesn't it make more sense that the empire's project would do anything it could to stop bad-mouthing of it? Would it be good for the empire if they had to take everything out of the Middle East and all their support from the Middle East and had to deal with all the nations on the up and up? Even I would be willing to bet that there would be a lot of people even in Israel that would prefer the new relationship that they would have with America having way less power.
I've been down this road.